Hello, this is Kylie from Hello Crafter and welcome to the videos for my Stampers Delight card club for November, which features the Lights Aglow product suite. These are featured in the July to December mini catalogue and they're on pages 30 to 33. So as part of this whole collection, you've got some lovely papers which we're using, and I'm using this bundle here, which is the Christmas Lights bundle. Mainly the dies, but I will be doing a bit of stamping as well. So the ribbon coordinates lovely, and we've got some of that in our kit too, as well as the glimmer paper. So I am also going to be featuring this stamp set for my greetings. So this is the Brightest Glow stamp set, which is a range of lovely festive sentiments. So you use whatever sentiments that you've got for these cards, and if you don't have this one. So I'll show you what's in the kit as well. So if you've received the Stampers Delight subscription box, you're going to get half a pack of these gorgeous papers. They're 6x6, so you'll get 24 sheets, 2 of each design, and that's what we'll be using for our projects this month. You'll also get half a reel of the lovely gold edged ribbon, and it's really lovely and sparkling. It just goes perfectly with these projects. But I've also given you some of these, which are the gold adhesive back swirls, which again just look lovely with this collection because it's got this kind of splattering of gold in them. And lastly, you will also have some of these glimmer papers. So you'll have 6 6-inch square sheets, 2 of each colour. So that's what you've got in your kit. Now these are the card designs that we'll be making, 2 of each. This is card number 1, and it is a slide and lock card. So it's got this front panel that slides off and then it opens up like a gatefold card. So it's decorated inside as well. And then card number 2 is this one. This is another fancy fold. So we untie the ribbon at the side, and then when it opens up, you've got this pop-up W-shaped panel in the middle. And this is card number 3. This is a really simple one. It's basically using the die cuts from this card. You're going to have 2 designs. You're going to have a Christmas tree and a snowflake for each of the designs. This final one is like a window card. So you're going to get a snowflake window and a Christmas tree window, and you'll decorate behind the window with paper strips. So it's a really fun technique. So I am going to get started on card number 1. I'll show you what you need and how to put your cards together. First thing I'm going to do is show you how I created the card base for this. It's actually 14.85 centimetres wide. So I'm cutting a piece of A4 lengthways at that measurement, 14.85. And then I need to score it, but instead of scoring it in the centre to create a normal fold square card base, I need to score it at just under 7.4. So a little bit under 7.4 on each side. And the reason I'm going for just under 7.4 is because I want my gatefold, the sides, not quite to meet in the middle. So I've created a little bit of a gap there, and I need that gap there because that's what my slide and lock mechanism is going to slide in onto. So the first thing we need to do is cut some glimmer paper down to size for the front panels, and I've cut that down to 7 centimetres by 14.3 centimetres, and we can stick those down. And then we need to cut the paper for the front. So choose a design from your paper stack, and I like to stick to the reds for the red card and the greens for the green card. So you've got two different card bases there. I'm getting short of this paper though, so I am going to choose some other paper that I've got that also coordinates, because I don't want to cut into any more of those sheets. So I'm going to be using this one, which is not in that stack, but does match perfectly. So these front panels are 6.5 wide by 13.8 high to get that lovely glittery border. Like so, and we can glue those down. Now, because it's glimmer paper, you need just get plenty of glue on, but it won't dry straight away like on card. So you will need to give it some time to stick. And the thing that I tend to do is just weigh it down with something heavy like a punch or an ink pad or an acrylic block, just for a few minutes until the glue sets, and then it's not moving around. So I shall just put that to one side while I do my other cutting. Then we need to cut the paper for the inside of the panels, and I've chosen a coordinating design, not from the paper stack again, because I'm running short. So these need to be cut down to 14.3 high by 7 wide. So you need 2 of those. Like so. And my glue should be dry now, so I can get those stuck in. And then you also have a piece of white card, a square, which measures 14.3 by 14.3 to put on the inside. So it's quite nice to do some stamping onto this beforehand. So I'm using these snowflakey ones for this card, and I'm using cherry cobbler ink. So I'll put one there and one off the edge there, like so. And you can also add some of the smaller ones. Smaller stamps, just to add a bit more pattern. And there's plenty of room there to write a message. And then we can stick that in. So you could always stamp a greeting in there as in this one as well. So that's the card base done. We just need to create this slide and lock piece next. And we need to do a bit of cutting. So this paper is one of the designs in your set. So there's a soft succulent version of that and a cherry cobbler version. So depending on which card base you're using, you can either have a circle frame or a square frame. They both work equally well. And I've already cut this down. So all you need to do is take the sheet and cut it in half and half again. So it's 3 inches by 3 inches to get that lovely frame. How simple is that? So it's already decorated for you there. Now this is a piece of glimmer card and it measures 8 centimetres square. So I'll just get my gold, which I've already cut down to 8 by 8. And that will fit nicely over the top, and once again plenty of glue, and leave it with something weighted on it preferably, just to set So bring my ink pads back and lay that on. In fact, I'll just do that over here. Okay, so that's the cutting. Then we've got 2 pieces of coloured card cut to a square, and they measure 8.5 by 8.5 square. So there's these 2 that you've got in your kit. One of them I'm going to stamp, so you've got some pattern on that. So if I take this snowflake stamp and again my cherry cobbler ink, I'm just going to stamp randomly over the edge. Like so. You can do this one side as well, but you won't really see that. And then we've got 2 white squares, the same size, 8.5 centimetres by 8.5, and we need to score those in half. So these need to be scored in half at 4.25 centimetres. Both of them. And then if you fold them in half, use your bone folder to give a nice crease. And then take your unstamped square. We're going to lay the 2 folded pieces on top of the square with the fold touching in the middle. So they're open on the outside, like so. So the fold lines meet in the middle. So put glue on one side and then line that up, and then you can just add glue there and just butt that up. And then if you turn it over, if any white's showing, you can always just trim off at this stage. So with it flat, add glue. And then lay the second square, your stamped square, over the top. Line it up. And again, if there's any white showing, you can trim off. So what you get is this. Now try not to bend it too much, but you'll see how it will open. Once the glue's dry, it will open like this. Now try not to bend this back panel or the front panel, try not to bend it too much back on itself, but that's how it will open. And then your piece that you've just glued, you can glue down either that way or that way. Ready for a sentiment. This is the handmade tag punch, which creates this shaped label. Just punch out of white card, or you can use cherry cobbler card and then emboss this. You can do maybe a gold embossed or a white embossed greeting on there, but I'll just use the white and my cherry cobbler ink that matches. And I'm going to use this stamp here that says "All is merry and bright." And then I'm going to attach that with foam pads. And then I can decorate it with the little gold swirls, or you can add a ribbon bow, or both. Okay, and now to attach this, so open up both sides, put one in first, and then slide in the other side, lay it flat and then push it up. That's how you slide it in and out. And just test it, make sure it does slide. And it fits perfectly. So that's that one. This is the alternative colour. So I'll just slide that on. And that makes a lovely special card for someone. So this is card number 2, and it's the W fold card with this pop-up bit in the centre. So the bits that you need for that card that you've got in your kit, you've got a card base which is the 10th fold style card base. So it's A4 cut in half at 10.5 centimetres and then scored in half at 14.85 centimetres to create this style opening. And then you've got a piece of white card that measures 7 centimetres by 28, and it's scored at 7, 14 and 21. So you just have to concertina fold that piece up like so to form the W shape that goes on the inside of your card. You decorate this, and then you've got 2 small squares. They're 4.5 centimetres by 4.5 centimetres square for your labels. And the first thing you need to do is cut up your papers to go on these sections. So for the front of the card, you've got a rectangle that measures 10.5 centimetres high by 14.85 centimetres wide. So it covers the full card width. It looks like I've cut mine a little bit too short, and I don't have any more card to replace that. So what I'm going to do is just trim mine down a little bit, and I will have a little white border on mine, which is fine. That's how I'll have mine. But if you want to cover your entire card base, it's 10.5 by 14.85. Then for this middle section, you've got a piece of glimmer paper. I've chosen the white one, and this is 10.5 by 7. And then a piece of pattern paper you need to cut yourself to go on top, and that's 6.5 by 10 centimetres. And then for the inside of the card, you've got 2 panels for the inside, and these measure 10 centimetres by 14.3, and they'll go on the inside of your card first. And then these squares which go on the pop-up bit, these are 6.5 centimetres by 6.5 centimetres square. So you choose which patterns you want. You can have them coordinating, you can have them all different, and we'll get gluing those on. So let's go with the card base first, and let's cover the inside with these rectangles that I've cut. So all of these measurements are in the PDF. If you don't have a copy of the PDF, if I've not emailed that to you yet and you would like it, then just send me a message by email or messenger, and I will send it to you. So it's quite often easier for some people to have the measurements kind of written down in front, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here we go. We've got all the measurements, all the cutting and scoring measurements in this PDF. So I'm happy to send that to anyone that wants it. And then we have the front panel, which again I've cut a little bit smaller than my first card. It was just a mistake, but that's okay because it just means that I've got a little white border, which I don't really mind at all. Then we've got this rectangle that goes on the glimmer paper. Again, because it's glimmer paper, it'll take a little bit longer to dry, so I'm just going to weight that down. That's on my punch. Okay, and then we've got these bits. So I'm going to decorate these with these squares first of all. So I think I'll do alternate the black and the cream. So they all get glued on to the same side. And then, as you can see on this one, I've got a sentiment stamped on one, and I've left one of them blank for writing my own greeting in there. So let's get one stamped. I'm going to use this one, Let Your Heart Be Light. And because I've got black paper, I'm going to just use my black ink for this. So I'll stick that one on this panel. And the blank one can go on this one. Okay, now we can glue this down. So what we need to do is fold it up like that, like a W, and place it down over onto the left hand side of this panel here, and I'm just going to make sure that it's stuck in the right way, not upside down, so when it folds out it's going to go that way, like so. And it'll get glued down. Try to line it up so that this gap and this gap and this gap are about equal. So don't push it too far towards the centre of the card, not too far towards the edge of the card. Just have it kind of nicely centred so that these three sides are fairly equal. So it goes like that, turn it over, get some glue on that side, and then you can glue that down. And then once that's glued into place, we can add glue to this section and then close the card on top of it. Make sure you give it a good press, and then now when it opens perfectly like that. So that's the inside, and we just have to decorate the outside, and I'm going to use some of the ribbon. I am running short again with all my materials, so I didn't leave myself enough to create these cards on film, so I'm using a different ribbon. So if you lay the ribbon around your card horizontally, and make sure you have enough to tie a decent bow, so it's probably about 75 centimetres that you need for this, so that should be enough there. Better to have a little bit too much at this stage and then trim it. So you can use a little bit of tear and tape or sticky strip or double-sided tape to hold it down at the front, and you may need some at the back as well. So I'm just putting some right in the middle, and then lay that over the top, and then pull it quite tight around the back, and just add a little bit more tape. Probably just add a little bit just here so that it doesn't move anywhere. And then this can be either glued down or stuck with dimensionals over the top of the ribbon. Because the ribbon's quite flat, that should work fine. and then you can tie this in a bow. And I do like to keep the length fairly long so that people can easily tie it back up again once they've opened it. So just to decorate with a sentiment, I've used this one here, which is Merry Christmas. And then I've just stamped it onto a scrap of white. And then just fussy cut around the words. And then you can use some foam pads, stick that down. And lastly, your little gold embellishments. And there you have your finished W folds card. So on to card number 3, and the first thing I did with this one is I've pre-die cut these panels for you. So what these are, 2 card bases, because you're doing 2 different styles of the same card. There's the Evening Evergreen standard card base and Cherry Cobbler, and then we've got these card panels here in the matching colours. These are 9.5 centimetres by 13.8 centimetres, and then you've also got these die cut stitch circle labels from the Stylish Shapes dies. So first things first on this, and if you've got the kit, you will already have this bit done for you. So the die set, the Twinkling Lights die set, you've got these outline shapes. So I will do a green tree and a red snowflake, but then you've got also these dies that fit within those outlines. So they have some embossing and some cutting on them. So they fit just inside. So I can do that at the same time, because I just need the window on this card, but I'm going to be using the actual die cuts that come out of it on the 4th card. So I am going to go and die cut these bits, and this is the result. So I've got my 2 window pieces for this card and these 2 for the next card. Okay, so the first thing that I do for these is I lay the frames over the centre of the card front with a pencil, so just make sure it's properly centred, and just mark the kind of limits of where, you don't have to draw around the whole thing, but just mark where the edges of the snowflake are, and this you can use as a guide for laying down your paper strips. So there's just some, got dash lines just there, so I can tell where I need to glue my paper strips down. Same with the tree, just sort of the outer edges, like so. So what I've done is I've cut up some of my paper strips, and they are 1 centimetre wide. It doesn't really matter how wide they are. So if you've got some scraps from your previous cards that you've cut up, so just use that. It doesn't matter what length they are, as long as they will go across this shape here. So let me start with the snowflake, and I'm just going to kind of build up from the top down these layers. So I can just tear them to size, but I just want to make sure that they will go all the way across the shape. So you can lay it down and then tear off any excess. or you can measure it first and then tear and then glue down. It doesn't matter which way around you do it. And I'm overlapping them. So I'm overlapping them at an angle each time because I don't want it to be really uniform. And then I've also cut some of these glimmer paper strips as well, just to add a bit more sparkle. So I'll dot them in and around. You can just test that there's no blank areas showing by just placing that back over the centre, and then you can see that it's nicely complete. So what I've done on this card is I've added a sparkly border around the edge. So you need to cut yourself a frame from the sparkly paper. So cut your glitter paper down to 10 centimetres wide by 14.3 high, and then cut out a rectangle from this. So you can use your trimmer to do this. So I line my up on this right hand side at 1 centimetre and place my trimmer blade at the 1 centimetre mark there and go down to about 13.3, turn it round, again line it up at 1, line this blade up at 1, go down to 9, line it up at 1 again, and then it doesn't really matter if it's not perfect because all you're doing is creating a frame from this. May just need to use your scissors just to cut these bits out. Like I say, it doesn't have to be really neat because you're going to be hiding the frame. So then you can use this bit for something else. Now glue the frame down. And then flip this over and use foam pads, get plenty of foam pads on. And place that down right in the centre of the frame. And then you just need to stamp a greeting on your label circle. I'm going to go back to this All is Merry and Bright again. And then add a little bit of ribbon. So again, I'm using a slightly different one to you because I am running out. So I like to do a little bit of a squiggle of ribbon on the back. So if you take your tape and then you just stick it down and do a loop that side, like a figure of 8, and then another one, and then we just cut that one off at an angle. And then some more foam pads. Put that there. And finally we can just add a few of our gems. So you can see on this one I've just done a bit of stamping on this window panel, but I did that before I stuck anything down. So if you want some extra stamping on there, then that's the stage to do that. So there's a few different options that you could do instead of the paper strips. You could choose one of your pattern papers. For example, this one would work really well, and just have a single sheet of paper cut to size behind the window. So that'll make it a little bit easier if you didn't want to cut and stick lots of strips down. Or the glimmer card. So just a single piece of the glimmer card behind the window would work just as well. So it's totally up to you how you do this card. So on to the last card, which is this one. And we will be using the die cuts that we did on the previous card prep. So we're going to do two different designs. So I'll show you the tree one, but here is the snowflake one, and they're exactly the same, they're just different shapes. So you have a standard white card base. We've got a coloured panel that measures 9 centimetres by 13 centimetres, a white panel that measures 8.5 by 12.5, and then we have some die cut labels, and we need to now cut our pattern paper. So you've got multiple options actually for this, but the two main options, you can either cut one design, just one rectangle, or 4 designs. So I show you the 4 designs. We need to cut 4 panels that measure 4 centimetres by 6 centimetres, and I'm going to choose 4 different patterns. If you just wanted to cut a single panel, it needs to be 8 centimetres by 12 centimetres. So now we can glue these rectangles down, and you need to just leave a very small white border around and between. And then you can glue that panel onto your coloured rectangle. And that can be glued down right in the centre of your card base. And then attach your tree or your snowflake with foam pads. And I'm just going to position those where there's no holes. And then if you want to add some ribbon, you can just add some strips of ribbon, or you can tie a bow, and that's totally up to you. If I do a bow on this one, I might just add that to my tree. I'll decide once I've done my greeting, I think. Okay, so I'm going to stamp a greeting onto here, and I'm just going to get a different set because these ones are a little bit big for that label. And this Merry Christmas from the Peaceful Deer set is the perfect size. I'm going to use my Evening Evergreen ink. And then you can position your greeting wherever you want it. I'm going to use foam pads to attach it though. I'm going to do it in the centre of the tree. Could do it lower down if you prefer. And I still haven't decided about the bow. I think I'll maybe put it down there. And then you've got obviously your embellishments. So you can add these like baubles to your tree. Would look nice. and I'm going to go without the bow, I think, like that. So a nice simple one to end with. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Bye.